Hi, everyone. This is, well, our fifth episode. We're actually almost getting the hang of this thing. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
a couple of things we'll actually be discussing today. First thing, at Jimmy's suggestion, which I thought was a phenomenal idea, we have decided that every episode we are going to pick a random beer that neither of us have tried and drink it over the course of the episode and then review it at the end. This week, we are drinking Guinness Blonde because I love Guinness and, well, Jimmy likes blondes, so, we'll be drinking and reviewing those. So our main topic this time, if Jimmy wants to open these bottles,
all right,
I'm talking.
Sure, go ahead.
Our main topic for this week's episode is why are DJs bitches? And
more correctly, is that there's an ongoing controversy right now over...
Controversy is a strong term.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, it depends on what circles you run in, but in the dance music culture, as of right now... Oh, yes. Cheers. In dance music culture right now, we're experiencing some pretty heavy backlash from a certain producer right now named Matt Zoe. He's been basically putting a bunch of big-name headliners on blast saying, hey, so here's all these famous names that you think that you're listening to. Here's the real names of the people who are producing the music for them. And so, I mean, in book deals, they're called ghostwriters. And the same thing applies to the dance music scene, where people are actually paying someone else to make the music that they are purportedly making themselves. You know, at least the perception in the public is that these people are making their own music. But what turns out is that they're not making their own music. They're paying someone else to make it. And on average, they're paying that person
a lot of money.
A lot. Well, when you talk about a lot of money, it's like $500 to $1,000 a track versus how much they make off of that track is obscene. So it's more of the sort of, Goliath beats the hell out of David kind of storyline that we see in so many other aspects of society, where the big and the rich get all of the opportunities, whereas the people who have the talent, who have the actual the creative force, are a lot of times getting taken advantage of. So, but the way that it was brought up by Matt Zoe, even though what he's saying is right, he went about it so immaturely. He called them out and then got into really petty arguments with other people who actually are kind of on his side about the whole issue.
Yeah, he alienated a lot of people that might have stood with him. I mean, Deadmau5, who I think is kind of an asshole. Well, not kind of an asshole. I dislike the way he does things, but you can't deny his popularity. Even Deadmau5 was with him until Matt Zoe started insulting. But this has just been something that's aggravated me for a while. Is mostly the attitude. Ghostwriting's been going on forever, whether it's hip hop, rock, whatever it's been. There have been ghostwriters throughout the course of musical history. I'm sure the first caveman had a ghostwriter.
Right, but like for instance, in hip hop and in pop, no one's really out there saying Britney Spears wrote this song, or that she recorded all of her own instruments or anything. No one's saying Madonna is playing the harp or the piano on these things, unless she's actually at the concert and you can tell that she's not doing it there. But with the producer aspect, ostensibly these people really are supposed to be the ones making their music. And they even say that they are. They'll even go on record a lot of times in interviews and give somewhat detailed explanations of what they're supposedly doing with their music. And then to find out that they're using ghost producers, it's like, well, okay, we can maybe give them a bit of an excuse if they were actually giving writing credit. And apparently with Diplo, who's one of the artists who got called out on it, he gives writing credit to the other people who writes the tracks with him. Whereas there are other artists on that list. I'm not going to list a lot of names here because I don't want to participate in that aspect of the controversy. But a lot of them aren't giving writing credit to the person that they bought the song from. They're basically saying, I did this, but they didn't. And
to me, the main aspect that's bothered the ghostwriting thing. I mean, it is garbage, but the thing is, it's right now, as far as especially electronic music goes, nobody really cares who writes what. Is who has the most largest marketable persona that's going to work. That's not the argument. I think ghostwriting is a well, not a bullshit job in the aspect of how much effort it takes, but the fact that I think anybody, any performer, any DJ that doesn't produce their own works, I think is garbage. But that's not going to change because you still have people like Pauly D, who, I mean, I don't even think that guy knows how to operate electronic equipment, let alone produce. Yet somehow he's huge. So that part of the argument to me is moot because I think that whole circle is garbage. Me more so, the issue that I'm having is the level of immaturity that I'm seeing with a lot of these people. You could say Matt Zoe is a younger guy, even though I don't recall either of us acting like that at his age. But even putting him aside, you get assholes like Frankie Bones, who's like, what, 60-something years old now? I don't know. The last time I saw him, which was probably 6-7 years ago, he looked like he had Down syndrome. So I don't know if it's from age or drugs, but the fact that asshole too, his attitude is like, well, you suck because apparently I can't do what you can do, or it's if you're that good of a producer, performer, whatever it is, then just be that performer. But this petty high school shit that I keep seeing every goddamn other day now, almost with these performers, there's a lot of them whose music I do like. But when I see that, when I see those Twitter, this is what, the 8th, 9th, 10th Twitter feud that we've seen. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why is it?
So I agree. The way that they address it is immature, and it makes them it loses credibility for them. But what they're saying should be said. The fact that they're saying it in such an obnoxious fashion is what actually gets it the publicity. Plenty of people with pretty big names in the field have said these things before, but they've said it tactfully enough that it wasn't clickbait. Therefore, blogs didn't pick it up and try to run with it. And so I think what a lot of times people are doing is, again, bringing back to what we talked about in the previous episode, how the media uses negativity to draw you in and get your attention. They're doing a lot of basically searching for something out there that is more likely to get clicks. So a lot of times people will make a statement that really doesn't catch anyone's attention and it goes completely unnoticed, even though they made a clear statement. It just wasn't catchy enough. It wasn't angsty enough to really make a headline worthy. So,
but do you really think anybody was not aware that ghostwriters were writing most of these top 10 episodes?
Well, so we're talking about the fan, because the fans are the ones that drive the industry. The fans are the ones that make someone like Matt Zoe. He has the potential for a career in this industry because of the fact that the fans choose essentially who gets to play the festivals, because the festivals most of the time get their lineups picked by, and we have an exception to this, but most of the time they get their lineups picked by sales of albums and by like what's going on buzz-wise in the like music blogs and what's going on in terms of SoundCloud listens and things like that. So you can pay to fake that kind of stuff. You can pay to play a festival, but overall, the majority of these cases, what supposedly is driving the industry, what supposedly is making these people capable or incapable of actually making a career out of this thing, is whether they're doing a good job at making the music and whether they're doing a good job of meeting the fans' expectations. And so when the fans are being told something that's going on that's not what's actually going on, that's a deception, and it's short-circuiting the process of make something, put it out for the market, let the market decide what's valuable, and then, because if you're not the one that's making it, all you're doing is marketing it, then there's a disconnect there. And because of so much of the way that they, especially in dance music, so much of the artist's personality is supposedly what you're buying when you buy a ticket to go see them at a festival, you're buying a ticket to see them perform the music they wrote and to watch them go through the emotional processes that they went through when they were writing this music, or supposedly that's the way it is.
Well, I mean, you're talking about an ideal situation. I personally have not seen that situation come about in probably 6, 7 years. I haven't seen a single good perform. I've seen decent performances.
Okay.
I've also seen decent performances from jukeboxes, but it's just I have not seen like a passionate, awesome show in years, in absolute years.
It's been a couple for me, but I haven't been to a festival in a while. I mean,
festival-
I went to Coachella in 2012, and I will admit that there was a bunch of stuff there that I was like, this is boring. But a bunch of stuff while I was there was really just floored me, and even some of the electronic acts that were like I knew going in that there was someone that whose name I was like looking forward to seeing, but then when I saw them, all my expectations were completely blown away.
Who? Let's share the names.
So Porter Robinson had a pretty decent set, and I like he's one of those producers who has a very good reputation for producing his own stuff. And he's been doing it since he was a teenager. He came home from his first worldwide tour to play his own high school prom. He's been at it since he was young, and he knows the game, and he's been doing it well. And just because he's on tour doesn't stop him from producing. So I think that's a good example.
Well, and
Mattione is another example. Like he just completely destroyed all of my expectations of what it would take for someone to produce their own music and then take it and turn it into a live PA set. He had 2 Launchpad controllers, and he was basically live triggering every single sample in all of his songs for his entire set. I couldn't see his fingers pressing individual buttons. It seemed they were moving that fast, and so I was thoroughly impressed by their performances. And that was just the electronic stuff. But I think overall, the fans want the artist that they see to be an authentic creator. And when they're being lied to, that cheapens the industry as a whole, and it makes it less likely for the people who really are doing it for their passion to be able to make it a career.
Well, I mean, just being realistic, the industry right now is in a very strange position. It is. I feel like it's setting up itself for some sort of bubble burst.
I agree.
Most of the people that are going are not going there for music. I haven't talked to anybody I know lately, and I've talked to a decent amount of people that are going to shows because this particular DJ is playing. They're going because it's this festival, and there's going to be half naked girls, or there's going to be XYZ drugs, or it's just all the other naked people are going.
Did you see the Onion article that said the new music festival is just a wide open field where everyone just does drugs? There's no music. It's just
and that's kind of the situation that it's going at, because now it's the spectacle of the I mean, I don't mind awesome stage setups; those are cool, but it almost doesn't fucking matter who that person is. Mm-hmm. And now with what we were talking about before, where DJs can actually purchase headlining slots at these events, it honestly doesn't fucking matter, because the people with the money, the people that are throwing these events, don't care. Don't care if the music's good. They're in it.
Well, to a certain degree, there are festival organizers who do want the reputation of their festival to remain, that of a curator of good music. For instance, I don't know what Coachella was like this year or the year before, because I didn't go those years. I went in 2012, but when I went there, I experienced a bunch of new acts that I hadn't heard before that I was like, I'm so glad they brought this artist, because now I'm exposed to this and I really enjoy it.
But you go for something like Burning Man. Even burners are complaining about, and the whole concept of that thing was originally to not be the same as other events and be this bonding thing. Now,
but I'm just saying that you can't just say that the organizers don't care at all. They do care to a certain degree.
Well, they care enough to generate revenue. That's my feeling.
Yes, but if you want your festival to continue long term, you want the reputation of the festival to be upheld. And if you start doing enough bullshit stuff where you're actually tarnishing the reputation of the festival, it'll go south. People will stop going because they'll realize that it's fake. They'll say, you know what, I haven't had as much fun time because all the artists that were booked there were ones I was expecting to see there. I didn't get a bunch of exposure to new stuff.
But the thing is that what I'm seeing is they're sacrificing longevity for short-term gain. They are Look at Global. It is. I mean, it's been a shit fest for the last 3-4 years, and now they've extended it to 3 days, and they're making a shit ton of money. It's not going to last, but they're making a lot of money now as opposed to making money, a decent amount of money forever. So,
well, everybody knows that the bubble is eventually going to burst. And I think everyone's attempting to try to make as much money while they can.
And that's what I'm feeling, is they're trying to get as much money out of it now and ruining it, as opposed to, well, this will
but it's going to be ruined eventually anyway. So that like, what they're doing is just basically putting extra holes in this already sinking ship.
Exactly right. So which brings me to, they don't really care. They're just, do we have 5 years? How do we get the maximum amount?
It depends on the festival, and because there are some festivals that don't have a specific genre. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, I keep going back to Coachella because that's one example, but like, say, Wakarusa, there's just another multi-genre festival. There's a lot of
we're obviously stepping out of my area of expertise because I don't know.
Right. Well, there are multi-genre festivals where even if the electronic scene completely tanked, they'd still be okay because they have bluegrass stages and they have rock stages and hip-hop stages. And so,
we're talking specific electronic, though.
Well, okay. I wasn't necessarily talking strictly electronic.
Well, with Matt Zoe and the Ghost producers.
That aspect of it, but those kind of producers are playing more than just electronic festivals, though. So I'm saying that there are some festivals that could potentially be focusing on the quality rather than the quantity.
But I feel those festivals would not know as much about quality electronic acts.
Well, they have specialists for the talent buyers. They have people who buy the talent just for the bluegrass, and they have people who buy the talent just for the rock and stuff like that. I mean, when you're a big enough festival, you can afford to have people who specialize in a specific genre of music go out there and do your talent buying for that portion over that stage. So, anyway, we are getting a little off topic here, but right. I think the overall what we're trying to get. Let me see if I've got everything. Yeah, we pretty much have covered that whole topic.
I mean, just to finish off that particular thing, my big issue is, I personally am sick of hearing about these hissy fits these DJs are having.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I mean, going a completely different angle. When I go see a stripper, I'm not concerned about what her home life is like or what her. Well, I shouldn't say me because I've gotten out of that game a while ago. Mm-hmm. But when you go see a performer, you don't want the extra. You're there to see them perform. You don't want to hear what their feelings are, or their hissy fist, or if their sandwich that day was not up to snuff. Just it's.
Well, that's what they use Instagram for. They're using that to show you that they're still a human being, and you know. At least I appreciate when I see an artist that I'm following who I look up to very much, and I see them talking about the regular frustrations they have with their life or whatever. I like say on social media, and it says to me, oh, this person is relatable. I've been through that situation. I can empathize. And therefore, I feel a closer connection to a lot of the music that they write because I can. It's easier for me to imagine that person is going through the things that I've gone through, and vice versa.
I don't. I have a different philosophy on it. When I have an entertainer, I don't want their personal shit. When you're doing your job, and being an entertainer is a job.
Right.
When you're doing your job, I don't want the other crap.
Right. Well, yeah. I'm not saying that I want them to get on the mic in between their songs and say, "And this one's about the time when me and my ex broke up."
And you have assholes that do that.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's what I'm saying. And the ones that are complaining and bitching on Twitter are probably going to be those ones that start. I remember. We really need to end the subject, but this will be the last one.
Okay.
I remember what was her name? There was I was performing at an event with her, DJ Mia.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
Some adult-ish, stripper-ish, DJ-ish person who did live vocals over her tracks.
Okay.
Whatever. But just halfway through her set, she got on her mic and she just bitched out the promoter.
Okay. So that's definitely unprofessional.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that when I see this is what that particular event that's what it reminds me of when I see all these just Twitter wars or what, and it's just there is a certain way you act when you stop being 14, and all these assholes from being 22 all the way to 65 are acting like they're 14, and that's where I have the issue.
Yeah.
But the next topic that we have, because my memory's terrible here, this kind of ties into last week's topic as far as negative media portrayal of things and making them seem worse. Current events and making them seem worse than they are. Some of you might have heard about the freedom speech rally that they were having in Arizona, at this mosque because apparently the way to show the world that you have free speech is to show up to a religious temple with assault weapons to make sure they don't say anything. So
Well, from my understanding, ostensibly what they were doing was exercising their own free speech, not attempting to limit the free speech of other people.
you can call it,
Well, that,
you can call a sandwich a duck.
let's at least at least initially say what their stated purpose was, because then otherwise we're doing exactly what we criticized the media for doing.
See this
before.
guy. Okay.
So let's give them at least the benefit of doubt at first, and say they showed up on the spot saying we're practicing our liberties, our constitutional rights to open carry firearms wherever we please, and at the same time they were also doing a freedom of speech protest in front of this mosque, and a lot of them had very offensive slogans on their shirts, saying "F Islam" and all that kind of thing. So, and this is where most of the news outlets ended the story. They said, "Bunch of people showed up armed to a mosque. Isn't that crazy?" They didn't get to mentioning the thing that happened minutes after that. The whole story happened before they went to press, but they just stopped caring at this point, and it's because all of a sudden it turned into a human interest story. Go ahead.
And I was astounded when I actually found out the rest of the story, and I actually shared it within minutes with Jimmy, and even Jimmy was saying, "Are you sure this is actual story and not just?" I forgot the term you used, but that it was not a false story. But apparently, what had happened is the imam, I think his name was Shami, came out and invited some of the protesters in to the mosque to pray with them, and a lot of them actually went in. They let them go in with their.
That was the shocker to me, because I'm going like, these conservative people with Gary and the guns, and they say F Islam and all that. They're like gonna go into the mosque after being invited in.
Yeah.
Yet somehow I feel like maybe they were playing a game of chicken. They're like, "Oh yeah, of course we got to do that, because there's no way we're gonna say nah, brah." so they did.
So they let them go in with their weapons. The only thing they don't let them obviously take in is their shoes. They have to take their shoes off before they go in.
Guns okay, shoes not so much.
Not so much. And a lot of people were actually. A lot of those guys, a lot of those protesters actually apologized, and this is the exact point we were trying to get at the last episode. Is it's very easy to dehumanize somebody or not think of somebody as a person when you just look at it through the eyes of media or news outlets. But when you're confronted with the other, you find out that they're just normal people. They're actually people that have feelings, that have interests, that actually care about other people or things or hobbies, and they might actually not hate you.
Yeah, and in fact, they're more like, probably, I would say, the people who were in that mosque that day were probably more like the people who were outside protesting than, say, you or I are to them, because we're very, you are very loosely affiliated with your faith. I have none at all. And whereas most of those protesters are probably very, very, very conservative Christian types, and then most of the people in this mosque, or at the very least, they're practicing Muslims, who actually go to their mosque and, probably don't eat pork and stuff like that. So they probably have a lot in common in terms of, religious adherence and respect for scripture and traditional family values and stuff, whereas we may not agree with them on that kind of stuff. But what's funny is, at least a lot of the time, there's a lot of really intense hatred between these groups, and it's like they don't realize how much they have in common, do they?
Well, that and just it's that whole. It's the same situation as when you insult somebody online. When you meet them in person, you might actually not feel that way or be able to insult them because they're right there and they're an actual person reacting to what you're saying. Yep. So, but again, this if you search online, 1 out of every 10 results will get you that story. The other ones literally stop at this protest was happening, they had guns, Muslims were inside.
End of story.
End of story.
Yep.
And that's where, but I don't know if we mentioned this in the past episode. I hate the expression "lost faith in humanity" because to me, if somebody honestly says that and believes it, I do think they should kill themselves. It's nothing. But if you lose faith in humanity, everything that we're doing now is because humanity exists. If honestly you're not happy with that, then it's not going to change. So you might as well leave.
Right.
So when I see these stories, it reiterates the fact that there is still good. As shitty as some of us are, I think a lot of us just don't realize we're being shitty. And when we're confronted with this shitty situation that we're perpetuating, we will self-correct. We will, like those guys with the guns. Once those Arabs, those Muslims came up and were pleasant to them, they could not bring themselves to be raging assholes because they go, oh wow, these are people. They're inviting us in. We can't.
Yeah.
How can you be aggressive towards that? So it's just, I do have faith in humanity.
But it takes someone being the bigger person and actually coming out and looking their verbal assailant right in the eye and smiling and saying, "We'd like you to come inside and enjoy some refreshments and pray with us."
Exactly.
Or in any, it doesn't even have to do with religious stuff. It could be with online stuff. It could be with you're disagreeing with someone over you are both trying to buy the last toaster oven on the rack there and on Black Friday sale or something like that. And everything frequently devolves into these shouting matches and threats of violence and even sometimes actual violence. Whereas all it takes is one person of the two saying, you know what, I'm gonna be the bigger person here. I'm gonna say, and not even saying they're gonna be the bigger person because that would sound.
It would deflate the situation. Well,
it would deflate. It would take away all of the good faith or the good naturedness of their gesture. But to say, you know what, it's no big deal. Go ahead.
Well, that actually reminds me of people that do good deeds that won't stop posting about
when
they do good deeds. Yeah. I vehemently dislike that. Do good things because you're good and you want to do it. But I've had people where, well, I gave 75 cents to a bum today. It's like, well, why? At that point, I start questioning their motives.
Right.
Why? Did you give it so you could talk about it so people will think you're good? Or did you actually give it because that's something you actually wanted to do from inside? But that's coming away from the topic. So
devil's advocate on that, I do want to point this out.
Oh.
Devil's advocate on that is that I think that it's important for people to maybe not so much brag about the things that they did, but to make a note of the positive accomplishments that they've had, because a lot of times it's easy to get down on ourselves and to think that we're worthless. And to say something like that, even if you're putting it out there in the world, and people could construe it as being self-serving, what it does is twofold. First of all, it serves as an anchor in your history of the things that you've done that are worthwhile, that you can look back on and say, you know what, I have done some good things with my life. So if you're ever feeling bad about yourself and you're feeling down, you can use that as a way to sort of bring yourself back in. And the second thing is that you're more likely to influence other people out there who see you doing something good. There's actually all kinds of psychology research that says that people are more likely, when they see other people being generous, they'll want to be generous too. So I think that it's not a bad idea to put it out there that you're doing something good. Like when I used to talk about all the time when I was volunteering at the museum, I was saying, I'm going to volunteer at the museum. Come in and see me if you're going to be there. And it's not because I want people to appreciate me for being a volunteer. It's because I think that if I post about that, first of all, it generates cool conversations. And people will say, hey, when can I come see you at the museum? The other part is I'm hoping that people will say, you know what, I'm such a lazy asshole. I keep sitting around not doing anything. I can be volunteering with my time.
I find that there's a slight difference between when you say you're volunteering. This is gonna sound like a strange separation, but it's different when you're volunteering for something that is inanimate, I guess would be the best term.
Talking about the museum?
Yeah.
Well, that's not inanimate at all. The reason I was volunteering there is because of the people who came in.
They're
very animate.
But I don't know. I think there's a difference between volunteering at the museum and saying you gave money to somebody in need. I think there is a. I'm going to get real psychological here. It's kind of like, well, I am better than somebody that I was able to help this person lower. Whereas at a museum, there's no hierarchy. You're just helping at the museum.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. When you're giving money to a specific person, you're flaunting your affluence and your like dominance over them.
Yeah, to some degree, it's showing that you're better than a certain other. But when you're volunteering at a shelter, when you're volunteering at a museum, you're just I mean, nobody's gonna say, well, cats are equal to humans,
Right.
or antiques are equivalent to
Right.
human, or so. But it's I. There just seems to be something about observing somebody doing good
Mm-hmm.
than that person talking about how good they are.
Right. But it's different to say I'm such a good person because I've given money to a poor person today. Probably depends on how you put it too. If you say how much you gave and where the person was, it's more likely to be construed as like a dominance kind of thing, I think. But if you were to say, I normally don't do this kind of thing, but I gave some money to a homeless guy today and I felt good. I hope you guys go out there and do the same thing. You know, that to me looks more like a like encouraging.
I guess it's more in the
altruism.
delivery,
Yeah.
but I guess the point of that is be good to people. Yeah.
Wow.
it's pretty.
Dude, you ought to like patent that phrase. I feel like that's a really good rule. We should call it like the silver, the platinum. No, golden rule.
Be excellent to each other.
All right, so I think we pretty much sort of got that out of the way.
Yeah. So
one more topic for today, and that is
snope the shit out before you talk about.
Yes.
We're still trying to figure out the name of this particular segment, but
we're trying to make a weekly segment out of this part of it. Yes.
Pretty much every episode we're trying to go weekly, so we're gonna say every week we're gonna find a stupid thing that a lot of you are saying, and
or posting about,
or something we're seeing excessive amounts of, and debunk it and tell you why you're being so stupid.
And it's actually more specifically people who are finding some false news, patently false news, either from a satire site that was not immediately identified as satire, or people who see something from a conspiracy thing, or
just uneducated people commenting on
something that's totally normal, but making it out to be something. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's actually the category of the thing we're talking about this week, and it is drum roll.
It's called speed tape.
Speed tape.
So, I have a lot of friends and family members that work in with aircraft. So there is aviation but specifically physical aircraft.
Right.
There's a lot of aircraft engineer. There is a thing called speed tape that they use to do temporary repairs until more permanent repairs can be done. And this is something that's FAA approved, engineer approved. It's a very well designed,
structurally sound.
Yeah. It's essentially aluminum tape that can take speeds of up to 500 miles an hour. So I don't know the exact specifics. I just know generally what it's used for. Sometimes it's used to cover minor cracks. Sometimes it's used to cover paint, bolts. Just temporary repairs until you can get the aircraft to a proper hangar to get the actual repair. But it is rated for flight. This one guy who, I don't know if he has graduated high school or whatever the fuck, he takes a picture of this person who is actually applying the tape,
it's a tarmac technician, right? Someone who's out there doing the repairs on the aircraft.
It has to be a certified individual. So
right,
whatever it is, it's his job. He's certified to do his job. So and this particular asshole, not the technician, the passenger, takes a picture of this guy and flips out that they're fixing the airplane with duct tape. And of course, social media being the way it is, everybody explodes and says that this particular airline is not watching out for their passengers, and how dare they fix aircraft with duct tape, and they should refund money, and I'm never flying again, so on and so forth. So this reminds me of back again with the last episode where people like Jenny McCarthy are talking about anything to do with science or anything to do with intelligence. So she is not qualified. So you have all these people jumping in and talking about how it's duct tape, and I know it's duct tape, and then you have actual aeronautical engineers coming in and telling you, well, this is designed for this specific task, this is designed for these specific tolerances, and then you'll have idiots coming in saying, no.
I know what I saw.
Well, it's this fear of science. It's you have ignorant people saying, no, you dirty scientist, you have an
Or
agenda.
people just doubling down on what they've already said. If they've said something and then they get called out as being wrong by someone who's an expert, for some reason it feels better for them to say, no, I was right all along and the industry experts are wrong, than to say, oh, I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm going to go ahead and let the expert take the reins here.
Well, it's also with certain jobs, there's really no ulterior motive. Engineers, doctors for the most part, scientists, they're not politicians.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, well, if I do this shady deal, I'm gonna. Engineers don't care. This is a particular product for a particular use, and it's just
Yeah.
Cutting it short. It's not a fucking conspiracy theory. It's fucking speed tape, and it's made to repair planes. So if you see somebody putting duct tape on your plane, it's not goddamn duct tape. It's speed tape, and it's fine. And don't make a big issue of it.
Right. So overarching on that is, if you think you see something that's going on that you think, wow, this is crazy. How is the world not already blowing up about this? If it's actually the kind of crazy that you think the whole world ought to be blowing up about it, and it's not actually blowing up about it, there's a good chance that
you're probably wrong about it.
Or that you're missing a key critical component of the story. Like, they are actually putting tape on the plane. It's just that it's not duct tape. It's
aluminum tape.
It resembles duct tape in color and maybe in a little bit of like reflectivity ratio, but the structural integrity of it, the tensile strength, or whatever you want to call it, is vastly different, and it's designed for that task as opposed to duct tape, which isn't really designed for any one task in particular and kind of does okay at a lot of different tasks. So bottom line is, if you see something going on and you want to say something about it, check it out. This stuff has been around for ages and ages, and this isn't even the first time that the world has erupted about this. This happened in just recently, in the last couple of days, people have been blowing up about it. But 2011, there was a big media circus over it. People saying, I can't believe they're using duct tape to repair our planes. The same exact discussion happened then, and it's happening now.
And there's literally no excuse with the internet and mobile devices being on a person almost at all times.
Yeah. And you're posting it from Facebook, which is on the internet. You can't post on the internet without being at a place that makes it possible for you to figure out whether it's true or not. So it all boils down to laziness, pure and
if
simple.
Your story sounds stupid, which I'm sorry, this does, it is most probably stupid. I'm sorry to tell you, Snowflake, but you're probably not the first or smartest person to notice this thing that you think everybody else should have noticed, because everybody has almost seen everything now thanks to the internet. So if you see something and nobody has gotten hysterical over it, probably because there's no need. And if you think people should get hysterical about it, research it first. So, but that being done,
that leads us to our final segment, and we don't have a good name for this either. But we're going to have to come up with one, or maybe you, the fans, could help us come up with a good name for this. The review of the beer. This is Guinness Blonde American Lager, to remind you guys. It is
made in the
USA.
Which is strange.
I saved a little bit to the very end here, so I would make sure that I had enough, so I could tell you guys what I thought of it.
But a little bit left.
Okay, so what I expect from a Guinness is something with a lot of character. And what I guess they're probably trying to do here is make a beer that doesn't bear a lot of resemblance to their existing brand, which they have accomplished. But people who are expecting a lot of character are going to be disappointed. People who are expecting something different from normal Guinness are going to get something different. Whether or not they like it, it's a different story.
I think they would have benefited from not calling it Guinness. Because seeing Guinness, I had expectations. I was, yes, it is a lighter beer, but I was still expecting heavy duty to some degree beer. But this is really, honestly, sad as it is to say,
Kind of boring.
Very boring, bland beer. It's unoffensive.
Yep. It's actually getting a little warm for me right now, and I'm not like grossed out by drinking it. So
no, not at all. It
is the kind of thing that one of the things Guinness is famous for is having beer that you can drink at room temperature, not want to gag. That's something you can't say for most American beers, and what they've done here is achieve an American beer that doesn't make me want to puke drinking it at room temperature or nearly room temperature.
That being said,
not pukeability is not exactly a judging factor.
Was it Coors or Budweiser?
Coors, they have the
drinkability.
Yeah. That I don't know that campaign. I can't remember which beer. So that means it was a very failed ad campaign. If you can't remember which beer it was for,
it's just they both got. But apparently drinkability, as far as like not throwing up after drinking the beer.
Yeah.
So this scores highly on the drinkability scale.
Yes. Yeah.
But that being said,
it is extremely potable.
It is extremely not poison.
Yeah.
Not poisonous. But would I suggest drink? Buying
it doesn't have a lot of rocks in
it. Or razor blades.
Yes.
But I mean, me personally, I would not buy it again. I would drink it if it's around.
Yeah. And I would pick it if it were the beer that were on the table with the Coors Lights and the Budweisers and other things like that.
But I would not.
Partially because I want to be seen as a pretentious asshole drinking a beer that not everybody else is drinking.
I just don't think you should be hanging with friends that are bringing Bud and Coors. But it's
friends don't let friends drink shitty beer.
Yeah. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 6. It's drinkable, but
I'm giving it a 6 as well.
Yeah, I would not buy it again.
So, with that, thank you all for again tuning in to Deuce X Musica. And we're having a good time with this. We're hoping on bringing in a little heavier topics with some actual additional voices to the show. Mostly because we fear that our background and personality doesn't lend any sort of credibility to some of the topics that we're planning on covering. We do have a lot of background on, Arab issues and on politics and music and things like that. But there are topics that we wish to cover that we don't have the authority to speak on, and we don't want to make it look like we admit
when we are not subject matter experts.
Yes,
so
that's what separates us.
we will bring in subject matter experts. We're trying to do a good mix of heavy topics and lighthearted topics. I thought today was pretty lighthearted because at the end, who gives a shit about it?
And there's beer.
And there is beer.
Which tends to make even the heavier topics a little bit more lighthearted. So
others may think, oh, how dare they drink during these heavy topics. But in any case, guys, we appreciate the support so far. We're hoping this channel does get bigger. We're having a great time. Hope you guys are having a great time. And we will see you for next week's episode.